Welcome to the third installment of WrestleTalk for the WWE second quarter financial earnings. This cast will be less about the earnings because we've already discussed that. But last night, the 30th, WWE celebrated what it called its 900th episode, which, if you're a fan and you do the math, is not an anniversary, and their math is a little off, not by much, but it's not an anniversary in any way, shape, or form, as they've hyped anniversaries before, and somehow we've reached our 900th episode. Uh, One topic that came up, which was the headlining topic, is your top 10 superstars for the total of 900 episodes. A lot of people said John Cena. A lot of people said Stone Cold Steve Austin. A lot of people said The Rock. My opinion, The Rock started out in wrestling. Should have stuck with wrestling because right now all he does is entertain his two kids with his Disney releases. He, in my opinion, sold out the wrestling community. That did him so right, and where most of his financial gain was made during the Attitude Era, and his rise, his average salary without bonuses or endorsements, was $2.5 million a year. And it went up from there. So just do the math from 2002 to his bailout, which he was making money a year after he officially retired, because up until 2007, 2008, he was still, while doing movies, he was still contracted as The Rock with World Wrestling Entertainment. So he cashed a check from all his movie deals, plus cashed weekly checks from WWE Incorporated without actually doing any wrestling. His most memorable last match was, I believe, the WrestleMania match where he tagged with, I could be wrong about the pay-per-view, where he tagged with Mick Foley, and surprise, surprise, he lost. Every time he came back, he lost. So it didn't really do much. I mean, when he did finally bail out and stopped coming on TV, it didn't, the fans more or less faded him out. You can cite him as a memorable wrestler, but he didn't really leave gracefully as the others did. He kind of just left and left us high and dry for no apparent reason but to do shitty movies. Uh, just my opinion. And they're like assholes. We all got them. On another topic, real quick, I am feeling better from last night's post. I am still looking for the people responsible, and any information you can help with that. It's on facebook.com/CWE Company if you're a fan of the page. And it's also highlighted on here in one of our off-topic video casts. Topic that was brought up for this 900th episode was the fact that WWE condones dangerous conditions to ensure that its top stars stay on top. More or less saying that they kind of look the other way on the amount of painkillers that are being used, the recreational drugs, pot, speed, steroids. As long as you're in your top performing condition, as far as they're concerned, they weren't worried about Chris Benoit until Chris Benoit flipped out and made bad publicity for them. That's the only reason it got any attention at all. If the media would have phased it out and not paid attention to it, WWE would have went about its day, and year for that matter. But you have to wonder if there's actually truth to that, because they do tend to look the other way. You find out after these wrestlers die of heart attacks and whatnot that if they were on drugs like Soma, Vicodin, Percocet, Oxycontin, mixing them with sleep aids and antidepressants, at any given time, it says right on the bottle, at any given time you can have a bad reaction to this. Even if you build a tolerance to it, any given time you take a dose like that, mixing and matching like they're candy, you're not guaranteed on the results. I don't care how high your tolerance is. and what you have the balls for. One night you could go to sleep and never wake up. As Umaga, if I'm not mistaken, Umaga suffered that fate. He went to bed and never woke up. So that's that. Uh, they look, and it pretty much brings into light the fact that over the years, Vince has always called his wrestlers independent contractors. And what that does is, from a business standpoint, it's smart, but from an ethical standpoint, it's not the most conventional way of doing things. It doesn't show that you give a fuck. It actually shows that you don't give a fuck what happens to your people, as long as in the present moment they're making you money. Um, Vince has the money, and let me just put this out there. Vince has over $212 million heading into the third quarter that he can burn before he has to even worry about operating expenses. Um, and you have to wonder, for the people that make him all this money, why they're not standing up for this. Why they're just choosing. I mean, I know it's a big payout, and you accept the risk when you take it, because obviously he's not going to pay you unless you take the risk. But more or less, what I never seem fair about it is, WWE contracts you but doesn't protect you. They can release you at any time. They can pay you whatever they want, and at any time release you, even based on an injury that maybe the writers put the wrestler in a position to receive. They wanted the wrestler to do a certain thing. It didn't go off like planned, and the wrestler winds up getting hurt, benched, and subsequently terminated because he's no longer a usable product to the company. And like I said, that's good business practice, that getting rid of your dead weight. But don't even get me started about the dead weight in that company again. Um, there's a lot of dead weight. You got to wonder, with all that money and the fact that the wrestlers that make him that money do it on a week-to-week basis, why he wouldn't want to show that he cares. It would not cost a hell of a lot in comparison to what he's making to get an insurance package that moderately protected the superstars. I'm not saying pay for everything, but they're going into a ring night in, night out, staged or not. They're going into a ring that has no give to it, that basically, if you don't know how to fall, you will hurt yourself. If you don't know what you're doing, basically same thing, you will hurt yourself. Um, One of the reasons I don't really condone backyard, but different topic altogether. There's absolutely no safety in that. Whereas at least this sports entertainment is at least confined to a ring and it's predetermined outcomes. But still, you have no idea when climbing up on that ladder, climbing up on that ring post, how that leg drop's really going to work out for you, how that flying headbutt's really going to work. A match that comes to mind is the pile driver that did Stone Cold Steve Austin's neck in and was the source of all his injuries for thereafter. The match against Owen Hart, where he was pile driven head first, back before they started faking the pile drivers or staging the pile drivers a little better, where the wrestler giving the pile driver actually falls on his ass, and it's not a headshot to the wrestler anymore. But that match was continued even after Austin knew he was having a neck spasm and knew he had done something to his neck. Within the next 5 minutes, he still wrapped up the match. It was a roll-up, but the match was still ended to where you knew he was hurt, but it wasn't like it was stopped. And just, I mean, you go from PG and you go from what you went to PG-13, and you stop pushing the envelope, first of all, and then secondly, you make it outright known that you can make tons of money for me, but don't expect me to be there if you get hurt, is more or less what it says. Thanks for your service, but if you get hurt doing this, hey, you knew the risks, but oh yeah, by the way, while you work for me, you can't work for any other company. So I kind of see it unfair to the wrestlers that there isn't some kind of guarantee in there, because Vince more or less is guaranteed that money week to week in ratings and merchandise sales that these people bring to the table for him. They do the work. They should be protected in some way, shape, or form, even if it's a small package. At least, show your workers that you actually care. But instead, label them as independent contractors, and as soon as they get hurt, get rid of them. WWE also announces the release of, finally, 3 years late, iTunes content now available for download for all you iTunes fans. Matches, Raw history, different stuff for various prices. 3 years too late, some would say, considering every other major promotion and even independent promotion has come out with some kind of downloadable material or feed. And the one thing they bring up is, with the iTunes release, is the fact that content theft seems to be their biggest issue. Well, there's a simple response to that. If you had a buyable product that your fans wanted to buy, they wouldn't steal it from you. That's like if you made me an offer and I knew I could just download it illegally, but you made me an offer to say, hey, sign up for X amount of dollars. It's still material you want to follow. You're interested in the storylines. And maybe you would think about, hey, paying $2.99 a month to $9.99 a month for feeds and content downloads, and do it like a flex account or something where your balance carries over month to month and you can purchase what you want. But the fans are stealing it, just like TNA, even though TNA kind of used that as its major excuse for the pay-per-view 2 months ago that I keep referring to, that got 8,000 buys. If you listen to them, the reason it got such low numbers is because everyone stole it. Well, when you're regurgitating WWE storylines, who wants to pay $39.99, let alone $49.99 for something you can see, you can have recapped on TV the next night, and the matches and titles aren't going to go anywhere. So if you want to see it just for entertainment value, you're not going to pay for it like you would years ago. You're going to steal it. So this isn't content theft. It is, but it's not more or less the fans. It's the fans saying, hey, I don't think you have a product worth what you're putting out there. So it's just easier for me to hop on a LimeWire or a BitComet and steal it. But that's neither here nor there. And like I said, just to reiterate, I think if you had storylines worth following, you'd notice your buys were up a little higher. And if you made it exclusive to where it wasn't all over the internet, because basically it all originates, all the leaks and spoilers originate from corporate at some level. If you kept everything low-keyed and restricted, like TNA tries to do, even though most of it isn't as contained as they'd like it to be, but for a while it was. You'd have better buys and better outcomes in your pay-per-views. But that's just me. We'll get into part 2 of this in one moment. Again, thank you for the support, and stay tuned for part 2 coming next.